today we're going to talk about the lead guitar parts for the Silent Hill theme. Now, being that I improvised this solo on the recording, I'm not going to be able to break down every single nook and cranny of my solo. I have transcribed a few parts, but I'm not sure if demonstrating exactly what I did at that specific frozen moment in time is necessarily going to help you solo over a piece like this. Now, this piece is in G minor, and it has a little bit of chromaticism as we learned in the lower guitar part. It plays a D, an E flat, which should be in G minor, but then it plays an E natural, kind of almost juxtaposing a G Dorian, which is also a G minor type mode with a different feel and a different mood associated with it. So when you're soloing, you have to be careful when that actual chromatic note happens so that you're not in conflict with it. I don't want to spend this entire video going over different chord scale relationships that you can really find in any book or different lessons online. I'm sure there's tons of YouTube videos out there that go over that. But basically, you're not going to want to land on specific notes while specific other notes are playing. You have different avoid notes, you have different tension, and then you have your different consonant and harmonic type notes. So when you play the D, which is the fifth of G minor, you're going to have different notes that work better than others, as will it with E flat. But then once you get kind of outside that key, you have to be even more careful of which notes to hit, because some of them are going to be a lot more dissonant because it is outside the key. So that's one thing to keep in mind while you're soloing over this. Of course, any tricks that you know in any minor key are going to work here for the most part. Most likely, any of your G minor licks will work, whether it's pentatonic or it's going up the scale. Kind of like how the melody goes, and that's going to work also for the E flat. Now when it gets to there, it can still work, but you got to be careful and kind of be paying attention to how that's going to adjust to everything. You're not going to want to play that E flat anymore. You're going to want to move all your E flats to E during that specific measure where the E flat becomes E, when it's kind of, in a way, like I said, juxtaposing a G minor Dorian type mode, or even you could even think about it as a temporary D minor instead of G minor. Which they have a very close relationship anyways. They're only a fifth or fourth apart, depending on up or down. Anyhow, I think that thinking about those things, and I can go over a few licks as well, just to kind of show you how I would approach playing. Now, I'm going to, on the playthrough, play an entire improvised solo in the key of G minor, but being very cautious and aware of once that E natural happens. So another cool trick you're going to want to do when you're soloing is referencing different melodic aspects that the song has already used. So being that we already knew the melody part, we can reference that in that octave or the octave above, or even lower if we want to really go low. We don't want to go too low to where we're conflicting with the bass notes or the lower guitar parts. And typically, most people say that once you get too low, it gets a little muddy. I think there's a few people that can get away with that. But to be safe, keep it toward the middle or and high range. But as you hear the different melody guitars going up, that's probably when you're going to want to kind of go toward the middle, so that once again you're not fighting it, you're not conflicting with it, and vice versa. When it's medium or low, then you can go up. So in a way, this song kind of presents different obstacles, but in a cool way, it helps you be creative inside certain boxes. Inside certain limitations can help you be more creative, because you got to think outside of those, and you got to think of ways around that. So typically, when it's down here and it's playing its normal melody, you can be up here and playing different melodic type material that you want. I mean, it's your solo, you can do whatever you want. but just be aware of that. And when the high notes start coming up here, that's kind of when you're going to want to kind of come down here, or be aware enough of it to where you maybe can harmonize with it in different ways. There's so many different ways to approach leading, writing a lead, a solo line, and improvising over something. But the key aspects I want you to gain from this video are being aware of what the melody guitar parts are doing, being aware of what the lower guitar parts are doing, seeing different ways to kind of reference those different licks, whether it's the melody, or maybe you want to take some kind of lick out of there, whether it's a rhythm of the many different variations we created, or maybe you're just going to take those chords and play them in a different position on the guitar. But either way, you're going to want to get out of those different guitar parts as ranges so that you're not conflicting too much or accidentally landing on a very dissonant note at the wrong time. But being aware of it all is really the key of being a great solo player, is knowing these guys are doing this is what the bass is doing, this is what the chords are doing, the melody, whatever's happening at that time. And typically there's not usually too many melodies happening when someone's soloing, but in this case there is. So you want to be aware of everything that's on the table, and that way you can create a very beautiful, intuitive part that contrasts and complements with it and doesn't just fight and do its own thing the entire time. So basically, being aware and referencing lower guitar, being aware and referencing melody guitar, and making sure to stay out of their ranges enough to where that lead guitar comes alive and has its own presence in the mix. Stay tuned for the playthrough where I'm going to improvisate my own line right in front of you as the song plays. And that's it for all the Silent Hill guitar tracks. Stay tuned for the playthroughs and play along if you can.